The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
Barry Hearn stands...
It's an American singer, but but the British have really taken it on, haven't they? That as well.
Yeah, it's American. Yeah,
because it gets boisterous with the British.
Yeah, but you've got young kids singing it.
Yeah.
And older kids, and adults, and women. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love...
Do you think Michael Buffer, when he stood there, first of all, was thinking, cracky, what is all this going on?
Oh, he loves it. He's a proper lad, he is. When you look at his tweets and stuff, Michael Buffer, he seems like a right geezer. I wouldn't mind a beer with him.
Yeah.
Not that I drink beer, but...
How old is he now?
I haven't got a clue. Looks good for it, though.
Near 70s, I bet.
Yeah.
He has had that's a good career as well, isn't it?
200 grand a night for saying, let's get ready to...
Let's
get ready to rumble! After singing to Sweet Caroline. Lovely.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's good. Ali Hamidi, welcome to the podcast. We are...
I've been waiting for this moment. Hang on, go on. Turn it out. Oh, yeah. Go on, say those words.
We are live.
Oh, I really like your intro. I've said it to you, haven't I? That I think it's giving you like a little symbolic element as you come in.
Well, we just know where we are with it, don't we? Then you know how to start, and then it just sort of rolls on from there.
Yeah, you enjoying it? You enjoy?
Well, we're getting
it?
into number 19 now.
Ooh,
it's gone fast, Tobe, hasn't it?
It has gone fast, yeah.
Yeah.
19 of them.
19 podcasts.
Who's been your don't lie? Who's been your favourite guest so far?
Mine's been Simon Scott.
Simon Scott for Toby.
Damo.
Oh, come on, you can't say... I should have said anyone but Damo. You can't...
No, but it's good.
He'd give you the job, you can't say
that. I know. That might have something to do with it. I liked it, though. I mean, because it can be harder doing it with someone that you know pretty well as well, can't it? It could feel more awkward.
Yeah.
And I've never talked to him about some of those stories.
You know him deeply, though, don't you? You know every
does anyone know Damo,
every orifice for him, don't you?
Honestly, I've enjoyed all of them. We try and set these up so they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody's personalities are a little bit different. And honestly, I've enjoyed every one of them.
It's a unique matrix, the carp fishing world, isn't it? You get a right mixed bag in the angling community, don't you think?
Yeah, you do. But it's how whether people just want to hear about fishing or whether they really want to hear about people as well. And that's what we've tried to do with this. We've tried to bring the people element into it, see how far we can take it. Maybe we need to pull back, but that's worked so far.
So you must have been proper scraping the barrel when I got the call. It took a lockdown to get me in, didn't it?
It actually did, didn't it? How long have we been talking about getting Ali on the podcast for?
I don't lie. It's lockdown, isn't it? You're desperate.
Desperate, that was it. I thought, mate, tried loads of people before we phoned you, mate.
We were losing hope. And we thought as well we're going to do the Monster Carp one before we actually do Ali and Ali and Neil, which we can't do, can we? We need you guys on individually first. Everyone needs to know you, don't you? Like intimately before.
Possibly, quite possibly. But yeah, it's been a bizarre time, hasn't it? So
yeah.
The fact that fishing's allowed now, though, that's given everyone a little glimmer of hope, and hopefully helps the economics of the trade as well a little bit.
Cheered everyone up a little bit.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Definitely.
Right, this part of the show, Ali. We normally ask for a gift. Yeah?
Yeah.
You'll turn around and say, oh, sorry, I forgot. We have one guest so far that's turned around and said, we've forgotten the
Really?
gift. Yeah.
Who was it?
Carl and Alex.
Carl and Alex. Oh, bless them.
And they went off and got some donuts for us, which they had lying around, but they had actually forgotten to give us a gift.
Okay.
But you haven't, Ali.
No, I haven't forgotten. And Simon, I want to give a confession before I give you this, that you said we want a gift that we can cherish and keep forever. And I did have one gift, but I thought it might be a step too far from a HR perspective. Basically, last week when filming Monster Carp, I broke a new record. Like, you have PBs, don't you? Certain elements. And I wanted to bring the thing that broke the new record in, but I didn't, because I thought it's a bit close to the line. Would you like to know what the thing is?
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
Well, I wore a set of pants for 8 days, and I wanted to bring you them in, skid marks and all, but I didn't, because I thought they might take it the wrong way. It could stink out the table. They weren't the worst skid marks I've ever had. After eight nights, sweating, walking, climbing trees, looking, bait boating, casting, whatever it was, they were on. And I never felt over that period, I needed to take them off. And when I told my missus when I got in, obviously do the old smell test, didn't you? We've all smelt our pants, lads. Come on.
And they came out well, did they?
Come on, you smell. They weren't as bad as I thought they would be after 8 days.
So is that normal for you, Ali, to just keep the same underwear on?
Not really. Not.
Some of your shoots are like 3 weeks.
Yeah, no. Normally I'm not. My missus has rumbled me a few times. She's gone, "You're going for 2 weeks. How come you've only got 5 pairs of boxers?" I'll be like, "It's whatever I could get. I'll be all right, babe. I'm in and out of the water. They wash themselves." So I didn't bring in the pants, but what I have brought in is another garment. Okay. A symbolic garment, because it is the hoodie that hasn't really been washed since we filmed Underwater 7 and 8, and it's the one that I was wearing in what was probably one of the most emotional and draining productions of my career, and the most rewarding, and one that, as you know, on YouTube and everything is doing wonders, and plenty of people saw it on DVD before, but you can see the goose stains.
So we've got a sweatshirt. We've got a Mainlines bait sweatshirt that you wore.
And it was freezing in there. So even though it's May, I had this on all the time. But I actually want to give this to you temporarily, because I would like to, at some point, try to raise some money for embryo with it.
Okay,
might get a $5.
You never know, mate, do you? But I remember that. Everybody remembers that. Every carp angler has pretty much watched that show, and that top is... it takes you straight back to that, and you've got the almond goo on there as well.
Yeah,
you can't smell it now. Is it still on there?
I think my missus has washed it a bit, but I pretty much wore this for a month.
Yeah,
yeah. So it was in the line of the pants, but doesn't probably have the lower body stench.
I think we'd rather smell worse.
We'd rather have the sweatshirt tab, wouldn't we? I think.
Oh, I don't know. That's what you think, mate.
Really?
I love the underwear.
Would you? Okay. No, that's very nice. Thanks, Sal.
Good. Really.
It is symbolic.
Yeah, meant a lot. And when you look back at that period, and that whole film, the time in there with Dan and Dovey, which were the people I was with the most, but also Jake Wildboar, Elliot Gray, Damo was there, Pecky as well. They're memories that you'll take to the grave with you, because you had a very, very rare opportunity to do something very few people.
There it is there, look.
There it is.
And there's a carp in a net there as well.
Yeah, that is the big plated.
Oh, is it?
That's after I'd had the absolute honour of netting it for Dan, following the
no way.
Honestly, to this day, I still can't believe we caught that as our first carp.
Mental.
And it's probably the happiest I've ever been, and I never even caught the carp. You know, I watched the gaffer, or his a colleague, a friend, whatever you want to describe it as. Just seeing that reaction, knowing what carp had picked it up, but still being in shock, and then the pressure of actually netting it, thinking, "Oh, don't fuck this up, Al."
It's a cracker. Look at that. We're looking at a picture of it now.
Yeah.
But it was the whole build up to that as well, Al, wasn't it? Because that session did not start very easily either, did it? So
cold, Simon. I think we put the cameras in on the 24th of April. Me and John Mann went up there. He took the bits with me. James Armstrong came, and I said to Dan, "I don't want you there. I want to set it up for you for the first time, so you can actually turn up like Arnold Schwarzenegger out of a helicopter and just start fishing." And we'd set most of it up, so when he arrived, it was just a case of lowering the camera in on the spot, and away you go. But there was a period where the fish just didn't see. They were clearing the spot out at night, but they weren't coming in the day, and I just thought, "Oh no, you've got it wrong," because I put my neck on the line there. I picked that spot from when we'd done a thinking tackle the year before there. I really believe, from what I'd seen of the other attempts we had done between Wellington Country Park, Underwater 5 and 6, to this point, I'd sort of studied how they'd been successful, how we'd failed in the in-between, if you like, and that spot seemed perfect.
Can you get a more perfect spot to record something
not
like
there.
that?
Without giving away loads of intellectual property, if you like, there's you need good firm bottom, because when people say, why can't you film on a silty lake? And I'm like, come on, do the maths.
Come on.
Yeah. But it's, you need a good clean bottom. You're doing it in the spring when it's clearer. You want it to be shallow because that's where the fish are going. And ideally, you want to be on a spot that they go to naturally anyway. You don't want to force them somewhere they don't go. And that ticked all the boxes, that spot. And I think it'll be very hard to get another position on any lake anywhere in the world that has the natural organic traffic that spot
You would think
has.
Gigantica would be the one, wouldn't you?
Me and Dan debate it all the time. We will try to do it there. We're doing some tests there at the moment. Obviously, lockdown put pay to doing them properly, but I still think it's too deep on there to get the level of action you need through the day. Yeah, you might get chances early morning, late evening, but for prolonged activity, I don't think there's too many spots that can produce it during the day that are within casting range as well. Because Dan always wants to cast the rig out, especially on Gigantica if we do it there. So I really hope it can work, but you
must hear it all the time. People must be asking all the time, when's the next underwater coming out?
Yeah, they do ask. It goes in waves, but it's funny. It surprised me that no one else has ever done it properly, but it proves how hard it is to do it, that no one else has ever done it.
But do you not think as well with that, that's Korda, isn't it? That's what Korda are well known for. And I think if anybody else kind of comes in there and does that, it's kind of standing on Korda's toes a little bit.
Yeah, to a point, but it's
Could you do it better now then? Because I mean, what was that? 2000? That was 2012, wasn't it? The last one.
Yeah, 2011, I think it was.
Yeah,
and it came out in 12. Yeah, I think we can definitely make it better for sure. We know we're so much better in production, post-production. We've done the research with the technology. I've got colleagues like Daniel Javadnia who've been helping behind the scenes. He's based in Holland, but we've been working together to research the kit, flying to places to meet them and discuss, the best technology to use to take it forward. Ultimately, in the end, you want them carp almost coming out the screen at you.
Yeah, is that what you would expect? Just clearer images.
Yeah, clearer images, filming into later light. There's a few options. Yeah. Can't tell you too much.
No,
yeah. I'd love to, but I can't. Yeah,
no, we want it off camera maybe.
Yeah, off camera.
But they look smaller, don't they, on camera on there as well? Do you find that?
No, I don't think so.
I've heard. Yeah, okay.
I think you can really. What happens is you create a scale when you're in that bivvy. And then you know what's a double and what's a 20. But you need a big one to come in to give you the scale.
Yes, right.
Because sometimes they all look big. When they come up to the camera, they look massive, But it's only then when the big plated comes in and its head is taking up the space that the body of a whole fish was taking just before you're like, oh.
That's big.
That's big, yeah. And we had some failed ones that we'd done at Abbey Lakes before. And we had a couple of 60-pounders. I think there was one called White Tips come in. And that they were £60 plus. And
you want those 3D or something out, don't you?
Yeah, there was options. It's just not taken off the old 3D, is it?
Not really. And
you've got to remember, people are going to be watching it on their phones and all sorts. So you just want a really great crystal clear image. That's what you want.
But just take your time, and when it's right, we'll see another one, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. That's the plan. Yeah.
All right. So lockdown anyway, Al. So when you found out about. I mean, this virus was gradually building, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, we're on lockdown. I mean, what goes through Ali Hamidi's mind when everything stops?
Well, the very first thought was, oh no, what does this mean for Liverpool winning the league?
What does it mean now? I mean, is it still...
I think we are going to win it, aren't we? We'll either be given the title or we'll win it mathematically in the next, hopefully, 2 games when we return. Yeah.
I'm not a Liverpool fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
But I would like to see Liverpool win the league.
Well, they deserve to win it. I only ever want the team that deserve it to win it. That's the thing. Last year, as a Liverpool fan, I said Man City deserve to win the league. Other Liverpool fans go, no way, that's not fair. I'm like, but they've beaten us at home. They've beaten all the other teams we couldn't beat, we've drawn against. They deserve it. And they did. And this year, we deserve it. And it's the first time in however many years when I look at it and go, we categorically deserve the league by a mile.
It just looks so much better than everybody else, don't it?
Yeah.
But there's something special going on there. that manager has built something into that team.
Yeah, I love it.
I
love the hugging and all that sort of stuff. It's just he's got an aura, hasn't he?
He has.
And when you see him in his presence, even when there's that video on Instagram of me hugging him at the West Ham game at the London Stadium, and he just carries himself like, he's like a king.
He's charismatic, but he's approachable, isn't it? He looks approachable.
Yeah, he is if he wins. I've met him before when we've lost. Actually, I gave him my book. I'll have to give you that photo, Toby.
Yes.
Years ago when the book came out, I met him at Upton Park, and Liverpool had lost, and he was a completely different character then. Yeah, he was like, because obviously I'm in neutral close. Who doesn't know I'm a Liverpool fan? I'm just stood basically in the tunnel outside the changing room, and he walks past, and I'm like, Jurgen, and he thinks I'm just like a autograph hunter or whatever, and obviously I wasn't. I was just trying to have I took a book to give him personally, and I went, I've got you a present. And as I said, I've got you a present, he changed. He went, oh, a present. And then you're going to see it as a picture on social media of me handing him a copy of the book. And at the time, my mate, Cameron Brannigan, played for Liverpool. And I went, I bet he's taken that book binned it in the change room, never even gone back to Liverpool. So I asked Cameron about 3-4 weeks later, I said, can you ask him what he did with that book? And he was like, and then Jurgen, Cameron texted him and went, you got a book off my mate at the West Ham game? He was like, yeah, the fishing book. And then he went, what have you done with it? He was like, it's on my bookshelf.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. You might see some pictures of him in carp fishing, Ali.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah, I know where that came from.
I'd love to take Jurgen carp fishing more than anyone, I reckon.
Any Liverpool players fish?
Well, Cameron Brannigan, that was there. He's at Oxford now. Great little player, and actually, I think it's and that's the only one I really know of in the Liverpool squad. Phil Foden at Man City is probably one of the most high-profile players that fished. That I talk to. That's really, really into his carp fishing. And then there's a lot of ex-players as well. So, actually, got Mark Noble, mad keen carp angler, West Ham captain. Zamora, obviously, is one of my dearest pals. He loves it. Yeah, so there's quite a few.
Boyer as well, isn't it?
David Seaman. Yep. It's almost generational. But at the moment in the Liverpool team, it's a shame. God, could do with them tickets. There's actually I don't know if you remember it. Toby would probably. Patrick Berger has become become good mates, chatting and stuff over social media. But he started fishing after he retired from football.
Really?
So, yeah, there's a few of them. There's a few of them having a go.
So
now.
you're attracting their attention a little bit then. Is that through Monster Carp and that stuff, or?
I think a combination of social media, Monster Carp, and I suppose the network of people. I mean, I didn't even realise. Someone once said to me, "Do you know Lomachenko's follows you?"
Yeah, I remember talking to you about it. Yeah.
I didn't have any idea, and I looked and I was like, "Oh my God, Vasily Lomachenko, probably the best pound for pound boxer in the world, one of the most talented people ever to follows me." And I looked, and he obviously likes his fishing. And Monster Carp is shown, and the big fish off is shown in the Ukraine. And that's obviously he's. And
you've spoken to him, haven't you?
Yeah, speak to him on messages and stuff.
Didn't he want to go fishing or something?
Yeah, he when he came over for his fight against Luke Campbell, I think they had a press conference a few months before. It was in last August. Because you went to it,
yeah,
Toby,
I was at the fight.
We
yeah,
both went. I took Dovey ringside, and there was for the press conference before he was over. I think I'd just come back. I think I just got back from Cassian, and he was like, was it Cassian or Thailand? Somewhere. I just got back, and he was like, I can go fishing tomorrow. And I was like, I can't. So I literally had to turn it down.
Pound for pound. Is he the best pound for pound?
Unbelievable. What an artist.
I've seen some stuff. I've seen him training and stuff, doing training, and then he goes out fishing.
Yeah.
During his he does his training, then goes fishing. Yeah,
his dad's got some very unorthodox training techniques that have turned him into the sort of the matrix that he is.
And he sent him dancing or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he does all sorts. Yeah, all sorts of very very interesting.
Who's the heavyweight guy? Who's going to fight
Tyson Fury? Joshua?
No, from is it Ukraine? What's his name?
Oh, come up from light heavyweight, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Usyk?
you see?
Yeah, another really talented guy.
Yeah, similar, aren't they? The way they train and stuff as well.
Yeah, I think the only difference is he's going to... I think he might struggle when he starts fighting big, talented heavyweights. He's got to deal with the power.
He's a badass, though, isn't he? He looks nasty.
Yeah, he does look nuts.
And they show him dancing and stuff when he's training. His movement is unbelievable.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against him for sure. But I don't know. We'll see once he's taken a few punches to the head.
The power at heavyweight's a different ball game, isn't it?
That's what. You've got to just see how that goes.
So Liverpool, hopefully, they're going to win the league. But hopefully we can see them win the league.
Yeah, so I know now I've given up. Like I had a little laugh, did a video message for Toby the other day, and he his university, he went to uni in Liverpool, and obviously he couldn't enjoy his graduation and the finish like that a lot of students done. And I went to him, imagine being a Liverpool fan 30 years waiting to win the league and then knowing you can't celebrate. I thought I'd be lost in Liverpool for a month, with Scousers and swimming in the Mersey naked and all the stuff that goes on when you win a league after 30 years. But no, it's so that was the first thought that came to my mind was the football. And then I thought, oh no, they've stopped fishing as well. So that was a battle that I could help us win quicker. So one of the very first, I think it was a couple of days before official lockdown, I was actually fishing, and I called Martin Salter, former MP, one of the main men at the Angling Trust, and I said, right, is there what can we do? Can I help? Can I help you out here? If, just to spread any messages that are going. And yeah, it's actually turned out really well because we struck up a good working relationship with him and Jamie Cook, who's the new CEO, brilliant guy. Because I had said before, and I said it to them, I never knew what the Angling Trust did.
Nor do I, Al. No idea.
What do they actually do? Right. And this was a time, and Martin described it. It was a seminal. What's the word? Anyway, like a big moment, seminal moment for the Angling Trust. It could become, because this was the first time they had to, as a governing body, stand up and be counted. And they really, Martin and Jamie were brilliant, and it was a pleasure to work with them. People kept saying, "Well done, Al." I only did, or try to help how I could, which was spread the word, make a bit of noise, get the message out there quickly, get the podcast, not the podcast, the Facebook Lives and stuff we did out to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, so that the momentum could build. And it put a bit of pressure on the government to read the guidelines that they brilliantly put together. We obviously helped do the research to prove that fishing in the other countries where it had been allowed hadn't negatively affected the spread of COVID. And yeah, it was to see that day when Boris was doing that announcement, when he come on, I was like, oh no, this is already pre-recorded. He knows what he's saying. This is already planned. And I'm thinking, please, and it was all open to interpretation, wasn't it, when he first said it? And then we knew then that meant fishing was a green light, but it was a bit of a take on it. But then they got Oliver Dowd in to confirm it online. And then it was like, I felt so relieved that night that we could go fishing again.
Do you think...
it was one of the without trying to claim even 5% of what happened, it was one of the most rewarding moments of my career to see that, to hear that fishing was allowed. And then we got into the whole night fishing debate, and every Tom, Dick and Harry sticking their oar in, trying to say, oh yeah, but they've said no camping. But they were expecting definitions for every single microcosm of every hobby. It's not going to happen, There was 4 sports that put in guidelines where they'd clearly thought about it, and they were the 4 sports that got allowed.
Was there a chance, though? I mean, if the Angling Trust didn't get involved with that, would it have just gone...
Yeah, 100%. If the Angling Trust hadn't had the foresight to put a clear paper together with how to return safely to the sport when we fish again, then we wouldn't have been considered. Is it by sheer chance, or is it direct correlation that the 4 sports that did a guideline for a return were allowed? Tennis, basketball, golf and fishing. They were the 4 that submitted something.
Were you a member of the Angling Trust?
Oh, no. I'm an ambassador now.
You are an ambassador, aren't you? But no, it made a hell of a difference, like I say. And
they just, I think people need to realise that fishing, for all the people that do it, just doesn't have much weight in the real world. I find it from when I'm going to TV companies and dealing with it, it still doesn't get the respect it deserves. And we need to come together more as a collective, because working independently is fine, but when you come together as an army, you can win a war much quicker, more effectively, and with more passion, because you're all fighting for the same thing. And this is one of the things I've learned from this, a moment where everyone's come together. You know, you've had, you know, different people, match anglers, carp anglers, sea anglers, different people in the Angling Trust. We've pulled together, we've got a message out there, we've fought the battles on social media, and we got a great result. And the fishing was back much quicker than we expected.
Yeah, it's united angling, hasn't it? It's brought everything together for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic. And I want, they need more members, because if you can get to the situation like shooting and hunting, which has a lot more members, they have. I mean, Lewis Porter from Fox, his dad's in government and he was in Parliament. He was telling me that fishing with only 12,000 odd members, as it was for the Angling Trust, doesn't carry much weight. That needs to be 100,000 members, 200,000 members, so that when you go into government, they look, whoa, that's got a bit of weight. That can swing an election. Yeah, you know.
And like I say, the more people you've just got more people galvanised together, more individuals as well that can maybe make a difference as well. If you've got a bigger pool of people together, you can find people of influence that can help each other. It's just
definitely, mate. I think, like I say, the shooting side and that gets it. We want solid arguments on predation, and we want to make a difference, but we can't unless we come together. So there's no use sitting there on Facebook and saying, I'm not joining because of this, I'm not join. Build a community. They know now that they've got likes of myself and Martin Salter, and there's other people all chipping in. I'd say I'm a chipper inner, not someone like Martin that's working day to day. But it means we're going to get the message out quicker. But you need the members. They need the financial.
Have they noticed members going up since?
Yeah, shot up.
Really?
But by probably 15%.
But we should all know what the Angling Trust is, shouldn't we? Really, as anglers.
Yeah, we should do. But I don't. But if they've got no voice and no reach, because they've existed, I suppose, and haven't had the people there to create the social media stir. This is what we've tried to help create during this period, to give them a voice, to let people hear them. No one knew Jamie Cook before this, did they?
No.
Everyone in fishing knows him now. That's brilliant. You know, same as I knew Martin, and few people. He's been around fishing for a long time, and more people know him than they knew Jamie. I would say, it's fair to say, but everyone knows them two now even more, and that's brilliant. And I think that gives them weight in what they say. They've taken some pelters off people in match fishing and that, which I think's ludicrous, really. Pulling things out of context and trying to say they've said this. They've not insulted. They've not said anything bad about any discipline in fishing at all. They've tried to fight every fight independently on its merits to get the best result that's for the safety of the population and for fishing.
I mean, fishing's going to come out of this better, isn't it, for this virus in that respect, isn't it? I mean, there are some things that wouldn't necessarily have been addressed previously to this unless this had happened. So,
yeah, like what? What are you thinking?
In what respect?
What elements do you think are going to be better?
Well, if more people are taking an interest in the Angling Trust, and like you say, predation and other schemes and policies that they might, there's more attention. There's more people that are looking to see what the Angling Trust are going to do in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right there. Definitely. I think now I noticed like there's messages and there's comments, and the reach of their posts are going up and up. That Facebook.
Well, we've just gone on Instagram with them and stuff. We weren't on there before, so it's.
Yeah, that Facebook Live that we did, the second one, after it was allowed, fishing was allowed. I mean, they did had a million reach.
Amazing.
And they had 30,000 Facebook likes before that, and then You know, I think that's doubled their Facebook in this period. So people have got behind them, which is brilliant. Fishing community has come together, which is brilliant. And apart from some of the negative people looking for loopholes, night fishing's not allowed. They said no camping. I'm like, doesn't refer to fishing. Fishing's allowed. That's it. They've not gone into all the small print. Just let it go. You know, but no, people wanted every last morsel of it laid down on paper with rules. People like rules. So, I've learned this. People like rules, and they want to see everyone stick to every single rule. There's no element of common sense or being open to some sort of interpretation with common sense. It's all like, no, computer says no. Can't do it.
Well, we see that with the virus in general as well, don't we? That some people are just ridiculous.
It's gone mad. Like even the Dominic Cummings stuff. Like just the whole every question after that press conference yesterday was about
that transport guy yesterday.
Just about getting him out of a job. I'm like, come on, you lot. Like, give it a break. Like there is something about the British public that likes to see people fail. They like to watch. If someone's winning or in a position of strength, they want to see them fall. And I think that's pathetic. I hate that. I want to build people up, see them be a success. I like seeing rival teams win because it fuels my fire to be stronger. I like to when I fail when I'm fishing to come back stronger, you know?
I think we like having something to talk about, Al. And that stuff just gets people talking, doesn't it? And we're gossips, aren't we? We just like... As a nation, we are, aren't we?
Yeah, it's not a nice trait.
It's not a nice trait.
No. I said that. I even pulled my dad up on it as well. I was like, come on, Dad. Sharing petitions and stuff. Like
crazy that is, isn't it?
Just
concentrate on the big picture.
Concentrate on the big picture. You're looking at micro arguments in a bigger picture. Geezer's use some common sense or whatever. But I understand he's in a position of responsibility. But come on, like...
So angling trust stuff done and dusted, hopefully, for now, you know, with fishing coming back.
As and when they need help, I'll be there.
And so did you have any thoughts in your mind that if this gets lifted, we want to do something filming-wise? Did you have like a contingency there ready?
I mean, ironically, when we had the Monster Carp abandoned at Crete Lakes the week before lockdown, on the way back, I contacted Mark at Wasing. I thought, right, we might have to do one in England now because we've got half a show here. We'll have to finish that later. It'll have to go in another series. And I spoke to Mark and said, look, I think it'd be a good place to do it if we have to do it. Then a few weeks passed. I then got permission from ITV, which actually categorised us as key workers because British broadcasting and entertainment was categorised as key work. So we could have gone out and filmed at any point during lockdown for Monster Carp.
Right.
But as a company, we decided not to do it because we didn't want to be seen to be taking advantage of our position. And also, it was still, you know, there was more cases in the UK. It was still a potential risk to staff. So we sat back and waited for the official time where everyone could increase their movement in the country, and we did that Monster Carp at the Wasing Estate. I had it. We were all set up. The army was ready, and as soon as the words left his mouth, the button was pressed.
Ready to go.
Yeah,
and a good venue as well. We spoke a little bit about that with Neil, but I mean, you know, if you can pick a venue, Wasing is pretty ideal, isn't it, Al, for that type of a program.
Beautiful lake, home of the.
You're a member on there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a member there. Home of the British record, which is obviously deceased now. Lovely lake. I wanted somewhere that would encapsulate fishing in England. It was the first ever Monster Carp in England. Yes, our hand was forced to do it, but let's pick somewhere that really, really captures the essence of fishing in this country. And there's nowhere like the UK in May. Carp fishing, nowhere. Like you can track. There's just something about this country in this month that's magical. I love it.
Yeah, and like I say, that all aligned nicely, didn't it, to be able to do that and have the opportunity to film something in this country because you're watching Monster Carp, and I mean we do see a lot of stuff obviously in this country, but to bring Monster Carp back home, there is something about that.
Yeah, been a lot of people requesting it in the past, and I've always felt, there's not much magic there, there's no mystique, because we all sort of knew what we were getting, and we always wanted to do it somewhere where we've got a chance of an English 40, a proper, traditional English carp, there's nothing derogatory to carp that are legally imported from other countries. I'm not saying that, but one that looked English. We've caught plenty in the series that don't look English, so let's go and I wanted one. And the thing that really stands out is every fish during that shoot really meant something to the lads. And I only catch one. And
are you allowed to talk about what you caught? Yeah,
I can tell you a little bit. Yeah,
right.
I can tell. It's really fueled my focus. It's been a long time since I've been able to do any sort of fishing in England, and I might have been able to do the odd couple of nights somewhere, but you really have to be in a routine to be successful on these lakes. Yeah, you can turn up and have a result as a one-off. Of course you can, anywhere. But to be consistent, you need to be honed, I think, on these lakes. And it doesn't matter how much knowledge you've got in your brain, if you don't apply it and make the right decisions at the right time, you can be slightly the wrong side of the fine line between success and failure. And I was dancing on the wrong side.
Had you fished it before then? Although you remember?
I've fished it a couple of times in the winter.
But you didn't really notice spring form. Yeah,
it wasn't. There wasn't the judgment.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that certain methods could work on there that don't really get used. It's heavily fished by bait boats, and obviously we took bait boats. I used them to put my rigs. Not that I did fish short and stuff, but I was still dropping rigs with bait boats.
Why did they use bait boats so much on there? Because it's not range water, is it?
No, it's really overgrown now as well. Even the swims. So casting's hard. Anyway, if you wanted to cast, in some of them you couldn't without wading out. So, but the other boys did well. Spooner had an incredible last 24 hours. He had a slow start like me at the beginning, but then he moves and has a magical time. Yeah. Dovey's consistent the whole way through the trip. Winkling fish out. He moved as well, and in the end, I didn't actually catch from my main swim. I had to move. I'd not move. I went stalking from a spot that we'd kept baiting. So it's a great insight and a mirror of what you see on syndicates all around the country.
Yeah,
someone doing well, someone having to move to get a result, other geezer struggling, goes and has to stalk one to save a blank. It's like it's going to be a great watch, that.
And like I say, we don't tend to see so many syndicate waters like that on carp fishing TV videos anyway, do we? They tend to be more open access waters, Wading's a little bit more exclusive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hard one to do, really. I mean, when we look back, we've done really well. I mean, I could have walked away blanking. At one stage, I thought, I'm definitely blanking on this trip. Just couldn't, no matter what I did, I could not get a bite when I thought I should be catching. And that's why I didn't move. I could have moved where Spooner went, but I didn't, because I felt the fish are passing me all the time. So unless that swim is a bit of a passing route and they've never really got their heads down there, which is why I didn't catch.
But I know you said as well, you've got away from that session and you want some sort of revenge now.
Bit between my teeth. Got to get back down there. It's obviously going to probably be busy for a couple of weeks now that the lake's fully open, because they had even while we were there, they still only had a small rotor on the lake, so they wanted to just ease it back gently. So I've really, really got the hunger, the bit between my teeth to go back. Isn't it? Yeah, I think this is a rare year now because there's lockdown. We can't go abroad. Other people that you might have been having meetings with and doing work with, they're not at work. So it means I can make the bank my office for a while and go to the lake, do my emails, fish, do some promo stuff while I'm there for product and whatever it is, but I can actually do that and feel completely clear in the mind that I'm not neglecting another part of my job. Because that's been my biggest issue over the years, is that I've said it to Dovey, when I've sort of confided in him about my fishing and stuff, and I said, look, I give more than 100% every day to my work, and there's only room for one thing in life at that level, then everything else is slightly less. And
Is Devi your confidant then? Is he normally the guy that you turn to?
Yeah, I talk to him about a lot of stuff. Yeah. Definitely. And I tell him, I'm like, I give everything. Like when we're going on a shoot, I plan it all. And when we come back, I'm so exhausted. I haven't got the energy to then come, CRM, I'm going fishing again. I don't want to go fishing again. I don't feel it. I've just put months into planning a shoot with Gary Newman and getting all the wheels in order, whatever it is, going meetings to arrange where we're going to film. And
what, is there a guilt for you then? Do you feel guilty if you're not working? Do you feel you have to be working?
I feel opportunities will pass me by, and I'm not willing to do that. I think I always look, and I look now, having worked in my career, I look at other people and I think, you've got something that they haven't got. So irrespective of talent or ability, you've got work rate, which will outwork 99.9% of people I meet in business.
Where's it come from then?
My family, my background, coming from Iran, coming from nothing, coming from a war-torn country. Do you remember do you remember the day when your family said to you, "We're going to move to the UK"? I was 4 years old. Don't remember that. Yeah. I don't remember too many conversations.
What was it? 8? No. But I mean,
it was 85. October 85, we moved here, and I was born in. I was actually, by the time we came, I was like 5.5, 6. I think I was 6 actually. Yeah, October. So 6. Went back to it. The only time I've ever been back to Iran was for my 7th birthday. But yeah, the work rate, I don't know where it comes from, and it's got to be work I'm interested in. Don't get this impression. I don't like cleaning the house, or I don't like doing mundane things. It's got to stimulate my brain, and I've got to feel like I'm moving in a new forward direction all of the time. And if I don't work, opportunities will pass me by.
Are there a lot of things that stimulate you?
Is there a lot of things? Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint what, but it's got to be. I love the fact that I now do and work in the industry I think I was always destined to work in. I always think I was destined to do what I do now. And that's what I tell, like Toby's here. I said, Toby, make sure you, and this is to all young kids out there, go and get a job in an industry you love. Do not go and work in something you don't enjoy, because if you get that feeling that I get, where you're willing to run through walls every day because you've got a passion for something, that makes work, but it ain't work. If that makes sense. But, because you want to give it all because you love it.
But like you say though, but people here have all got a passion for carp fishing, haven't they? But there's still different tiers of how much energy you're prepared to put into your work.
You can't change that. And I could draw up a league table of effort. And some people I talk to, whether it's here or outside, I think no point in talking to you. You'd actually get annoyed if I called you after 5 because you think you've clocked off, and that's just not my cup of tea. That
we get that sense from Ali, don't we, Tobe? We've had but it does. It definitely. It's interesting watching you, and you can feel the energy. When you're around people.
Dan is that. To be fair, Dan is one of the only people I've ever met that I can relate to with it. He has that energy, and I smelt that from the minute I walked in the door here. He had that passion for it. Every microcosm of his work he had it for, whether it was product, whether it was a marketing project, an underwater film, a magazine article. Mate, it means the world to him. And now that passion's sort of shifted to embryo, and they're getting that same guy that I saw in my early days when I worked closely with him, with Korda. He's doing that with embryos, and they're rare, mate. People like that, they're rare.
They are.
You don't see it. There's
It's easy to say have a passion for something, but it's that is born and bred inside of you, isn't it?
Deploy it.
What about you as a kid? Were you did you have a lot of energy? Were you hyperactive or?
No, my mum said to me a couple of years ago, she said, just remember you are different to everyone. Like, mama's special boy. You're different.
Were you? You're mum's special boy?
No. She says you're different, aren't you? You're like, you're you're successful in what you do to a point, but you weren't born here.
Has that been a problem for you growing up?
Define problem. Did it bother me? Nah. Did it happen? Yeah. Loads of racism.
How did you handle it?
Doesn't bother me, mate.
Right.
Water off a duck's back. Jealousy, innit? I'm living rent-free in their head. You only have to look at how Brexit panned out, and I don't want to be political. There is a strong racial undercurrent in every country, and this one has it as well. And, you know, carp fishing definitely has it, because I've heard it. But then at the same time, they're beautifully, a lot of people the majority are beautifully supportive. 98% of them. But there'll be 2% out there that want to see you fail. I'm used to it. And I've been used to it my whole career. And that is that even now you see it come up on social media. But
do you feel like you've got something to prove, or
for being racially abused?
Well, no, but just in like no, but
I use it to fuel my fire, to know that irrespective of any barriers, that they will never win, and I will always win.
I think people, as I see someone that's maybe different, and they're working harder, and they're getting more, and there's an element of jealousy there as well, isn't there? Just that they can't necessarily be like that themselves. Yeah,
like I said, you live in rent-free in their head. I know people, they talk about you and they talk like they know you. And I'm like, you've not spent 5 minutes privately in my company. What are you talking about? So, yeah, it's a part of my upbringing that I've had, even playing football. Like when I moved up north, and I scored a goal on my debut playing for this team in Winsford, which is, if you like, a bit of a Scouse, Manchester throw out, if you like. You get a mixture of everyone in there, like a bit of and I scored this goal, and as I run away, an older centre-half, let's say he was probably 30 odd years old there, kicked my legs and called me a packy as I was reeling away to score, and I just laughed. So I just scored a goal, mate. Bothered, you know.
Yeah, it makes them look more stupid, Al.
But it's just normal, mate. I've had it for years, and it's in every industry everywhere in the world, isn't it? So I'm not. It's not rare.
I like growing up in the world that I've grown up in the country, and just not knowing any of that, not being influenced by racism or anything, just looking at people, taking people as they are. And there's a degree of that. There'll always be, and there are parts of your culture, of course, and your upbringing that shapes your character and how you are. And I think, right back to my childhood, where my mum would be on the front line as a nurse in Iran during the war. My dad would be at work. My sister, at the age, I think she would have been 6.5. I would have been 4, and my younger sister would have been 1.5. We would be at home alone. And my older sister now is an amazing mother, but she would walk us into the bunkers during the sirens. So when the bomb raids would come, my mum's at work, but my older sister would walk me and my little sister, all of us or whatever, and we'd go to the little neighbours below, and then they'd take us to the bunker. And I think that's made me very independent, that whatever happened there, brave, fearless, or you've got fear, but you're willing to overcome fear because there's something deep inside you that's gone through stuff that many people never will go through. And even though you were 4 years old, you are still experiencing that, and it's there, isn't it? Even if you can't necessarily remember what you went through when you were very young.
I remember planes flying over my grandma's when I was there, and they're bombing our town, and I'm in the town at the time. They're bombing, say, a few miles down the road, and I would be sticking my fingers up at the planes or whatever. I was just taunting them from there, but as a young kid, because I didn't know any different. I thought they could see me.
What was you saying about? Your dad was saying, well, you're safe where you're living because you're near the hills or something.
Yeah. So my dad used to tell me that the planes. They would fly over the mountains as they came from Iraq, and they'd come into our town. And my dad would say, they can't get low enough to bomb us because of the mountains. or something like that. Proper
codswallop. You're gonna be fine.
They definitely could have peppered the life out of us. Yeah.
So all this hard work and stuff. So when you've made something like a Monster Carp, or you've done your work with the Angling Trust like you've done recently, do you come away and feel content, or do you just want to just straight into the next thing?
Yeah, I always, for me, I tell Tom and Neil as well, I feel like Monster Carp, like anything's got a shelf life, and before it has to evolve. And also the same with the Big Fish Off, other projects that we've worked on, evolution is a natural part of it. It doesn't go on forever. You've got to come up with new ideas, and that's a part of it. I don't want to have to change a show when it's starting to fail. I want to change it when it's at its peak, and to look for new opportunities and ways to take fishing forward. Because if you keep growing the sport, Korda and Guru, Embryo, the businesses that we're all involved will benefit, as will everyone else in the trade. I want to be, one of the people that is at the forefront of, innovating ideas to take the sport forward, whether it's TV shows, technological trends that we can develop for our sport. But I've got a passion for that.
How do you see yourself? Because are you a presenter, or are you a media, or are you a marketing media guy? I mean, or is it just everything? Because it looks like you've got lots of different. You could be a presenter, but it doesn't necessarily make you a creative person, does it? Or
I think I can be quite proud to say that the presenting thing has become a nice offspring of the work I've done, and I develop the skills in that area more and more every year, and hopefully improve. In every facet. Simon, the more of it you do, the easier it gets. The same as I like to think that I'm making improvements as a colleague, as a leader of a department, just by being around more people, because that came from nowhere as well. Like, suddenly you've got loads of people to manage day to day. You can't be...
Are you an easy person to work with?
Easier now, better now, much better now.
Right.
Because I try to look at everything from other people's perspective.
When did you start shifting a little bit?
3 years ago.
Right.
2 years ago, probably. When we had HR training and stuff here, and people come in, and I realised that stop trying to change others. You can change yourself, but you can't change others. So concentrate on that. You can make small adjustments to yourself to be better, like understand other people more, like where they're coming from. Understand that not everyone is going to work the same rate as you are, ever. Some people will. There's some people that, I look at likes of Matt Godfrey and stuff, not to pick names out, and John Wilkes and people, they're unrelenting,
John's another little Ali, isn't he, really?
I don't know about another little Ali. He's his own man.
He's his own man.
He's his own man, and a brilliant man at that. He's a proper unsung hero of our marketing department, John.
I do see similarities. Yeah, it's not necessarily fair to say that he's, but I see similarities in you with the way he's driven and.
Yeah, but he had that anyway.
Did he?
Naturally, and how he got the job was with the tenacity that you need.
Right.
He had his work, and he would keep messaging me every few months just to check in and stay in touch. And when the opening came, I didn't need to interview. Well, I did interview some other people. I interviewed 3 people, but there was no doubt in my mind that John was the man.
Do you think it's important to be liked by people, or does that come secondary to just doing a good job and working hard?
It's a hard one, whether you can be supremely successful and be liked by everyone, or whether you can be mediocre and liked by everyone. I don't think you can be supremely successful and liked by everybody in your team all of the time. I think that's very hard. You have to be realistic about that. You can try, but there's someone somewhere who's going to get upset in the matrix, whether it's a consumer, whether it's one of your staff, one of your team. You're going to make a decision that can't please everyone. That's the sad part of being a leader. You can have everyone like you if you're mediocre, I think.
Yeah.
I believe that. Because you're never really making any major moves. You're never working the hours. You're never high or low. too much because you've got nothing to make you high or low.
I was watching Last Dance. Have you been watching that?
Yeah, I started watching it as it goes on the exercise bike in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
You watching that, Tobe?
I've not seen it, no.
Oh, I mean, Michael Jordan, if no one's watched it. And that's a classic illustration.
He said about work rate at the very beginning,
Work rate, and he's not going to be liked by everybody within his own team. I'm not sure how liked he was within his own team, really.
Well, he's taking all the limelight, isn't he? All of the time. Imagine being one of those other players. You don't even know their names because you're in a team with Scottie Pippen. Was it
Rodman? Dennis Rodman.
Rodman and MJ. Like, it's like the geezer's a global brand. Yeah,
and these guys are not expecting to have to work as hard as what Michael Jordan. They don't know what it's like to work at that level. So to have someone it's like having a drill master, isn't it? And saying you've got to work to my level. People can resent that a little bit as well, can't they?
Yeah, I think so. That's why he worked so well with Scottie Pippen, didn't he? And you got the workhorse. And funnily enough, when I watched that, it's terrible. You think of yourself in scenarios. I'm not saying I was Michael Jordan. Please, no one think that. But I was thinking you got Michael Jordan. You got a department. It's called the Chicago Bulls a department. Yeah, a team. And there are always people that make a big difference. And I actually thought of Wilksy then, and I thought he is an unsung hero for the work he does behind the scenes all the time. Yeah, it really and that goes on right through the company. When you talk about Korda, there's people all across the building that do great work that you don't hear about. Like, so take sales department, you got obviously Spooner's Neil Spooner, isn't he? So everyone knows him really well. But you got likes of Paul Harris down there. There's Michael Isted, doing the Gigantica stuff and the dealing with shots. There's so many people through the. I don't want to name names, but I'm just the ones that come to my mind. And you go into product development. You got like Thomas Pashley. I've got so much respect for Thomas. Such a smart young man, and he makes Tom's job easier. And that's what you want, good people around you. And I've learnt that more.
And as a company as well, the longer you go on for as well, you once you're setting a pace for people, there's an expectancy from your staff. I guess the ones that are not quite strong enough don't tend to hang around too long, do they? No,
I've learned that,
yeah.
And it doesn't. I think if it was my own company, I would be less bothered about it than I am now, because I understand when some people give up or don't want to do the job. I know inside us that our morals and motives, we really care for the people and really try to help them and really want them to do well and really try to drive them to do the right things in their job and make the right decisions and give them that oomph. If that oomph then becomes a form of bounce back, then yeah, it's probably not meant to be.
No, it's not, is it?
No, and I'm fine with that now. I tear myself up, but really, you want those people that follow the ethos that Dan set, and that is what I look at now. I think that man has worked his cock off from the day he made those first leads, yeah. And that same energy, when I'm with him, whether we're driving in a van, I get a good feeling. I think, oh yeah, you've got that. You just still got that intensity. You really like.
Oh yeah.
Everything means something to you. But then you sit with other people. They're on their phone.
Yeah.
Or they're playing a game.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, it's just different. Yeah. I like reading this book that you gave me.
Okay.
So you
sold out now. Can't so the people know it's not a promotion.
How many copies?
Can't tell you that, Simon.
Can't you?
No.
Do you have a guess, Tobe?
Let's go. I'm going to say 300,000.
300,000.
Toby, I wouldn't say it, mate. You've been waiting for it. Well, look, I did. To be fair, the first one, Carp Fishing Masterclass has done 25,000.
That's actually really good.
So I think I think maybe that. I don't know how many the old Carp Fever's done, but I think in modern day that's probably the highest selling.
25,000.
Yeah, it's probably the highest selling carp book.
Is that more than Terry's?
That I know of. I think Terry, I don't know what Terry's. I think Terry probably did over 10,000 or so. I don't know, maybe more, but it's a different type of book. That one I only printed 8,000.
Did you?
And they sold out sort of in 18, maybe 24 months.
But your first book, was that more instructional? Was
yeah.
That? Well,
so that's what I'm writing, the third one. I'm writing a third, and that will be a follow-on of the first.
We're all writing books at the moment. I'm not writing a book.
You're not writing a book.
Spooner's writing a book, apparently.
He's been writing it for 3 years, Spooner.
Davey, is Davey ever going to write a book?
Davey said he's been writing one.
So who's just going to come out? Yours will come out first then, won't
Probably.
It? I liked it. Probably.
Who's your money on?
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, me too. Who you get betting on? Don't go to Dove Brooks, but maybe by us taking the mickey out of them, they'll hurry up and do it.
Should we put a bet on then, Toe?
It's not going to be Dovey or Spooner, is it?
No, different characters. Well, I don't know. I don't know where Neil is with his book.
He wrote a chapter in that, Spoons, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, the thing with a book is you've got to want to do it. You've got to have a feeling of the success in the past. And once you've done one, it's easy to do a second. It's easy to do a third because you know they're going to be well received. I hope if they follow a similar trait, similar style or whatever. I never knew with number one. I was like, if I do 5,000 of these in 2 years, I'll be happy. And they sold 5,000 in like 6 weeks.
How many reruns did you do of that?
It's had like 5 reruns.
Wow. So people do like you, Al, don't they?
I don't know.
You're very popular.
Well, I didn't realise I was popular until that book came out, and I thought, actually, they've liked it.
But this one's a little bit more about your own fishing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I liked it. I know at the start when you said you were fishing, and we probably fishing around the same sort of era, early 90s, where people didn't want to share so much, with you, did they? There was a little bit more secrecy going on and stuff. And has that sort of prompted you to want to do more, and really help people more?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said about Damo, when I was a young kid, I used to go up and punish him. But he was a quieter guy. Didn't want bothering, And I tell him the story all the time because of the irony of us now, being friends and working so closely together. I wanted to be the guy that anyone could approach anywhere, and if people know if they come up to me on the bank, I've got all the time in the world for them, wherever I am. Doesn't matter even if I'm under... But boys will tell you, like even at Cassian last year, I made new friends that came down. There was Nico, Russian guy who lives there, and he came to see me, and he was like, I can't believe how friendly you guys are. The next day, come down with prawns and mussels from a Michelin star restaurant in Nice. So, yeah, I've got time for anyone, and I hope the education and the literature, whatever it is that you give out there as communication, reflects that. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
So you're early fishing then. So you started fishing on the Match Lake.
Match Pit.
Yeah. What ticket was that on?
That is on the Colchester Postal and Telecom Angling Club. Yeah. So the Match Pit, those Wivenhoe pits got some embryo. Ended up actually fencing. One of the first places they fenced. That particular place, gravel pits. You had the little cricket pit, which is a bit weedier. Had some massive rudd in it. I never even realised back then how big they really were. And yeah, we had a great time there. Learned a lot, and they were only small back then.
I like the story. Was that your first cup where your dad bought you some boilies and you were fishing? But that's a lesson in itself, wasn't it?
That
you're doing something completely different.
Yeah, seeing your freebies all drifted in the art, wondering why you've had churners. Yeah, unbelievable that trip.
So you're fishing a pop-up off the left because your dad's
with Dacron, black Dacron off the lead.
Yeah, that stuff was hideous, wasn't it?
Yeah, black Dacron off the lead on a running rig, zig style, basically. Mad.
Did you catch on straight away that actually I can't do that?
It was a really hard lake then. I think there was only like 50 carp in it back then, and it turns out someone had been baiting that corner. I've then turned up as a little kid with my stall in the winter, chucked out this lead, catapulted a load of float, and I've had I think, what did I have, 4 churners that day?
Churners.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I remember just looking and the reels going round and round and round. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to take off that. So don't forget, this was a really hard lake. Like, there's people that were having like 1 a year or something on there, and there
Did Joe Morgan catch a decent one out of there recently?
Years after that was.
Yeah, but I mean, the lake has gone on,
that
hasn't
fish, that fish that was the big one, I think Pecky caught it as well. I've got a picture, I think, not of it, like 19 pounds and 15 ounces caught off the sort of road bank in there back in 90, I'd like to say 96. Yeah,
and
that was the great period.
Those
plenty of racial abuse there. There was loads of it there. I was, oh god, yeah. It's mad though. You think they're giving it to a little kid though when you look back at it.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Great memories.
And who was the friend you were fishing with? You were
Dean Phillips. Yeah.
There was a nice little bit that you've recently said about him as well. Didn't you call back in? And
no. That's the kid who started me fishing. No, so Dean, he's in the book. Looks like the mad professor, like Einstein. He was the one who really got me going into carp fishing. Before that, there was Daniel Anderson, who actually took me fishing for the first time with a rod and reel. And yeah, I got a copy of the book back to him and stuff. And it's something I've done because you never forget your roots.
No, you don't, do you? Does he still go fishing?
Does Daniel still go? Yeah, I think his family have always liked fishing, and that was the thing. It was right through his family. But I don't talk to him. It's just I know that when the book got back to him, his girlfriend, I don't think he's on social media, his girlfriend managed to message me and just said it really, really touched, meant something to him.
Yeah, those early friendships, and sometimes they last right through your fishing career or through life in general.
Yeah, like Dean, I'm still friends with, and we've stayed friends ever since. I think there's something about carp fishing because you're doing nights together and you spend time together that really do strike up a bond. I don't think you have the same bond if you're just doing the odd day together somewhere. But when you're going doing nights, weeks on end, different lakes, you do build something with people. If you're a social person, I'm social, so I always have strong relationships that last a lifetime.
Yeah, my strongest relationships have all been through fishing friends, and then they're the ones that last, whereas other friends have just kind of come and go a little bit. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
you turn that special, you spend so much time with them, and
in great, and you share highs together.
Yeah,
and when you share highs together, there's a magic there.
Yeah.
And it's like the friends I go to the football with, and we've been through so many great moments that when you're in a moment of ecstasy and elation with someone and you share it,
you've got something to relate to.
You don't realise you're gluing together even more.
There's a bond there,
yeah,
isn't there?
Definitely.
So then you went on fishing like layer pits, the normal Essex
layer
circuit lakes.
Yeah, layer was amazing. Again, learnt so much. Learned so much. There's so many technical elements, from how to fish over particles, the right hook bait size over particles, spodding, boilies versus particles, the quality of your attractors to get a bite in on a silty bottom. Just so many variables that develop, and zigs, obviously zigs. I had the privilege of using them from like the age of 13, which means now, for so many people, they're a barrier, like a mental barrier is a method. They've got no confidence in them. I've had, best part of, nearly, what is it? I think I first fished a zig at like 13 years of age. So a long time, mate. 27 odd years of using them. So I've got so much belief, and it all started at layer.
Yeah, and you talk about the particle fishing as well. I mean, why did you adopt particle fishing on there?
They went mad for it on layer. The very first time I went for layer, I'd come from the match pit, so I was still boilies. I rolled some boilies there, and I was looking at her. I remember it was a mix. What had happened? My mate Dean had a load of base mixes left, like little half bag, like little bottom of a bag of loads of different bags. So I mixed them all together and made these boilies. They were lovely. They rolled. I remember rolling them on the table, and they were like the best rolled, smoothest looking boilies ever. Smelling them, thinking, they smell amazing, like definitely going to catch. Took them to layer, got in Dead Man's Bay, put the rods in. This is my first trip to layer, so I haven't seen these crazy layer shows where they're jumping out 2 at a time, 1 a second, like boom, 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 boom. Put the rods out, and I remember just sitting there watching these fish, wondering how on earth I can't get a bite. All over me. They're all over everyone. They're all over the whole lake. It's just like carp soup. So I'm like, have I not got a bite here?
Yeah.
And this is the trait that I'm glad I have, is that that day of sitting there, caught nothing. And I remember getting almost sunstroke, searing headache, hiding, just watching these carp from under this hoodie, like jumping over this spot, thinking, I'm going to blank here. And learnt my lesson. Spoke to Dean, who's obviously been to Larry. He's like, you want to try hemp? So I went back the week after, Saturday. Dad took me again. Couldn't get there on the gate. It was too early for my dad. Got to get there at 5:30 to get a good swim. Got there at like 8 o'clock. Got on the cottages, one of the end swims, nowhere great. But this time I had a bucket hemp and fresh hemp because Dean's mum sold bird food and stuff. So it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Boiled the hemp and put that out. And instantly, like 15 yards out with an old guard. I think it might have been a gardener's spot. Anyway, 15 yards, and not very far out, but instantly got a reaction. I used to leave my marker float back then.
I read that.
Yeah.
So you just wind it down.
Yeah, I'd wind it down,
yeah.
But sometimes when you're spodding, but you'd see it get pulled under.
Yeah.
So you knew they were on you.
Yeah.
A totally different feeling. I just knew I was going to catch one, and I did. I had my first bite, and then I learned that fishing a big boy like a boilie of 16 miller over the top of hemp was not the one either. And so I learned very quickly that I then had to adapt, and then I started using maples over the top of it, and the rest is history. Learned so much about fishing.
I learned a big lesson using hemp. Horseshoe Lake. I might have mentioned it on here before, actually. I had a 25 kilo sack of hemp, which I didn't cook up the night before. So my parents done it. I went fishing that night, and they cooked it up and came back to the lake the next day with 25 kilos of hemp. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? And I was fishing on Horseshoe Lake, and it was the last swim along the road bank before the Whitney Bank. And there were fish mooching around there. Never caught anything that night. I stuck it all in the margins, all of it. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a sight like that. The rest of the day, it was black with carp. I reckon every single carp in the lake. And you do these crazy things, don't you? Because you're only young. But what a lesson that was. I mean, there's no way that you could get a bite.
What was your lesson? They really love hemp.
They really, really love hemp, but they're just not moving. I mean, they're not moving. They're completely on it. And I was
and
using
the size, and they become so preoccupied on that food source size that you have to adjust.
You have to.
Yeah.
And actually, years later after that, I was fishing on the Winter Point, and I put a load of bait out. But more bigger stuff, groats and stuff, and maples as well with the hemp. And actually that night I was fishing, and I had a tiny, tiny little pop-up on, and didn't get a bite. And it was literally, I mean, it wasn't even a pot. And as soon as I lowered that pop-up to a bottom bait, that was it. It was the holy grail then.
Tiny, fine lines, isn't it?
It's tiny.
Yeah. Miniature. That's literally what. With something like that, that's why the underwater as well, when you add all the information together, and you understand that actually different food particles are in there. Yeah, you want it bulked out with the drug, let's call it, the one that really lures them in. But you do want other food items there. Same happens with pellets. They love pellets. You know, they love small pellets. They go mad for them, but it makes them impossible to catch. So you have to pad out that bait and get them eating, but not conditioning themselves to eating one size of food. And that makes them easier to catch. I don't know too many very good anglers that aren't intelligent humans.
Right.
Well, I think there's
Aaron Kopp on the podcast, who was a trader before futures trader.
Yeah, I don't know Aaron,
but his whole fishing approach is kind of that analytical kind of. The mindset is still the same, and it's deadly.
Yeah, and you adapt quickly. I look at people that I know around me, close, you know. Dan, Damo, Dovey, Spooner, Pecky, you go through they're naturally sharp people. Like they get things quickly and they adapt quickly. They don't sit there until the carp catches them after boring them into the net. You know, with just fishing, 20 boilies around a rod for 6 months of a year. You know, they make the changes to get a result. You know, Simon Scott, Tom Banks, they're intelligent, successful humans. There's a real correlation.
Yeah, they're very dynamic people. They're sharp. They're
sharp.
They see things quickly.
Yeah, they're sharp, and a lot of the good anglers I know are all. They've got. I'm not saying they've got to be academic or nothing like that. I just mean they've got it. They've got a bit about them.
Yeah. Something happens and they see it and they can react to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And, So no, I mean, what you're saying with Damo and the maggots and the corner stuff. I mean, it is just doing something different, isn't it? It's the.
Well, not for the sake of doing something different, for an intellectual decision behind why you're not getting a reaction on the food source you're using, and why a different food source will get you a reaction, and that's what.
Well, so talking about Damo, the lake that year was the weed had died down. Everything had died down. So all the naturals were probably just the lake bed was littered with naturals, and to replicate that, I mean, a maggot is probably the best way of replicating what those fish are seeing on the lake bed, and that was successful, probably down to the circumstances, the way the lake was that particular year.
Was it not fished well on them since or something?
It still fishes on them.
Yeah.
It's still
trying to keep things under you. Sorry, I think they'll all know, won't they? So it doesn't matter.
They're going to listen to this, Ali, aren't they?
Of course they will. They will. No, it's a lake I would have loved to fish or to have seen.
But they are old carp, and methods that used to catch them years ago can get forgotten a little bit, and you can put them back in now, and they're. They can work.
Is it a runs water, Simon?
What are you trying to say?
Is it?
Why are you saying this? Of course it's not.
No.
Sweet corn last year, they introduced some new fish into the lake, and I thought that if fish haven't seen anything before, sweet corn is normally quite a good bait, isn't it?
Some geezer called Rod Hutchinson that likes sweet corn.
Chris Yates. Yeah, he likes sweet corn.
Chris is another one.
Simon Scott.
They love sweet. Did Simon talk to you about his bit of chilli in the pot? He loves that chilli in his sweet corn tin, doesn't he? One whole chilli.
Yeah.
It's great bait, isn't it? But I like to mix it all up now. Sweet corn, hemp, bit of pellet.
I know, but I haven't felt tempted to do that so far. I think sweet corn is ideal. It does a lot of things. It's not so small that they're grubbing around, rooted to one area. It goes through them quickly, so they like eating a lot of it, and it's just attractive, isn't it? It's just a really, really attractive bait.
It's a lovely old bait, and nice, and you can eat it yourself. You can get a spoon it in while you're sitting there. If there's any excess bait, I had sweet corn yesterday with a bit of steak
Very
and
nice.
Sweet potato.
Yeah, it works
very
everywhere.
adaptable. You can't have hemp and steak, can you? Or pellets and steak. So,
that's a nice analogy, Al. Yeah. So I guess it's true, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It works with everything.
I could try pellets and steak, but
yeah, because watching those underwater films, you were using sweet corn. You baited up, didn't you, Al, with just sweet corn, and it didn't.
I think it was the day I went to go to the FA Cup final, and we'd had a bit of a reaction on sweet corn on days when we weren't getting much of a reaction, and it got fish in the swim. But then when that was with a mix of stuff. But then when Dan did a day just putting in corn, only little ones were coming in. Weird. When there was a mix in the swim, you were getting the big plated come in. The box common was coming in, and then you'd have and then you'd have some of the smaller ones coming in. It just got the party started. But you wanted the boilies, the pellet, the tigers in there as well to give the different sort of soluble food sources, different scents, different tastes, different texture for the fish to enjoy. And
do you think you always need to have a selection to get the fish feeding differently instead of
not always, but it will help you more times than if you haven't got nuisance fish. I think you're mad to put out one source of bait, whether that's just one type of like even if it comes to boilie fishing, I'd rather put out 2 or 3 types of boilie. Like when I caught the German from Giganticron Monster Carp, that was the link fibre and cell, I think, was in the mix. Three different types, because I really believe that different times of the day the fish eat different stuff, or 1 minute they'll fancy that, 1 minute they'll fancy that. Others will eat everything, but there was definitely fish like Dan was using a fake piece of corn when he caught before he caught the big plated, and he watched that carp eat some boilies and change to a boilie, and then caught that carp. You know, because that was selecting the meat out of the veg. You know, and it's a
frightening scenario, though, isn't it? To think that we haven't got privy to that normally, and to try and anticipate what they're.
It's logical, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is. But I mean, I find with sweet corn as well, because you could say it's like fishing like a needle in a haystack. You know, when you're putting a lot, but they get through corn so quickly as well that if they're really, really on it, it doesn't take them that long to necessarily pick.
To clear you out.
It doesn't take that long.
It is. I'm sure there are situations where just a handful of corn and a hook bait, a couple of bits of corn in the middle of it will be great for a quick bite or a nice trap. But I would always I'd always have corn in the mix when I'm able to without nuisance fish. But at the same time, I'd like to have a few tigers in there, some ellipse pellets, some smaller pellets, chop boilie, whole boilie, 10 millers. Because I just think there's something there for everything. But I always then fish a higher tract over the top because I want a quick bite. I wouldn't fish all that and then match a hatch over it of some sort. I always want the hook bait to be the most attractive thing in the swim.
Yeah, you've written about that. I noticed that a lot.
It's mathematics as well, that is, though. That's maths. Because...
But do you not think it can do the other thing? It can draw fish away as well because it is different.
No.
It can be, is it not like 50-50?
No.
You know.
Puts the odds massively in your favour. If you want to put the odds against you, use the same thing as you're putting out. Because on the rare occasions that they do clear you out, all the other times they just have a few mouthfuls and go. And you've got the same thing on the bottom as all the freebies. What if they eat just two of the freebies?
So you like really boosting your hook baits up as well?
They've got to be boosted, mate. They've got to be. Even if it's the colours the same, the tate's got to be punching out. That 4 weeks in that underwater tent, the biggest thing was the impact of the goo and how the fish would dive from 4 foot to pick that hook bait out. Yeah. Then when Dan used, like I say, he used his own ones. He got bites, but the amount of attention his hookbait got compared to the ones with the almond goo on, there was no comparison because the almond goo ones probably had 20 times more attention.
Did you experiment with different goos on that as well?
Yeah, I tried a few different ones. Yeah, but the pink almond one, with the bottom bait had pineapple supreme in it. That was far and away the one.
Do you think the colour in that water, the colour of the pink or the yellows, did that make any difference?
No, he was using pink, wasn't he?
Yeah, I know. He was using pink.
So pink without goo was nowhere near as pink with goo, which meant it was the goo.
It was the goo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also we noticed as the goo petered off over time, it wouldn't get the same attention. So you always wanted the freshest, most pungent hook bait on the spot to get the quickest pickup or the quickest... and sometimes they'd come in, you think, they're going to swim over, and they'd turn, dive down, and go straight to that hook bait. It's mad. Like, if anyone didn't use it after that, they need their head completely checking, because there's no rational man could give an argument not to use it, unless you're trying not to get bites very quickly.
Previously, before that, then you weren't doing that so much?
What? No, I've always fished higher tracks, generally. Sometimes, like Lakelands, I caught swirly, if you like. I was feeding a lot of cell, loads of it.
We've got a picture of swirly, Ted.
I haven't here. No, we'll have to.
You have got it.
Yeah, we got a picture of swirly.
First UK 40 swirly.
Yeah, just have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the result of three days of baiting that swim, fishing it, but only fishing it at night because I'd just feed in the day, small water, let my swim become the safe sanctuary. But again, that caught that on an IB homemade pop-up on the top of
that's what you used to use all the time before.
But the other rod that I would try match the hatch and stuff and wouldn't catch. I always caught my best fish on the standout. Even over loads of bait, even after
I've matched the hatch a lot over the last. That's pretty much the way I've fished recently. It's a nice fish that we're looking at swirly now. Yeah, that was your first English 40.
£40, 10 ounces or something. £40, 12 ounces, something like that.
Pretty memorable.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, then it started a nice run of 40. It did make a difference. I'd lived up north, and I've moved back down south. This was the first lake I've fished with a 40-pounder in it. So you can only catch what's in front of you.
How big is that? Lakelands is pretty well now.
It was small. I think it was like 3-4 acres. But yeah, that was a lovely swim there. I'd bait all around there, all in that channel with boilies. To the left, there was a little bar, commanding middle swim, loads of boilies. Don't fish in the day, rest the swim, get them confident.
Well, that is one thing that we can definitely both agree on with that. Resting the swim is absolutely...
Yeah, I wish I did it a ways in last week a bit. But I wish I'd fed more and not fished.
Did you stay in the same swim at Wasing?
Yeah, but I weren't the rods. I think it's more that I had a couple of rods going out to islands with bowstrings and stuff, and it's everything I don't stand for. You know, I've been one of the biggest advocates in all of the stuff that I write and talk about on lakes in enclosed areas. Rest that swim, feed, get them looking for it. I don't know.
You want another Save story?
What's that?
Another Save story?
Go on, give me some.
When I was on days, I was fishing in this in the lagoon, entrance to the lagoon.
Yeah.
And I got my rods out onto these spots, and these two fish came out of nowhere, really, really big fish. And I swear they were following my lines right to the rod tip, because they came right up and then they turned, swam off. That was it for the rest of the day. Didn't see those fish until one of the syndicate members came down, Craig Stevenson, really, really good angler, and said to me, if you wind your rods in, go for a walk, come back in half an hour and see if they're still there. Done that. Guess what? They're back.
Yeah.
They're back. It's so...
That's the one thing I've always felt, even doing the underwater. I know we've spoke about rig camouflage and all these sorts of things, but I feel the one thing that they do detect is the lines. I've never been a big believer. Like, people were going, Matt, when we brought out the coloured kickers, me and Tom really wanted to make the hook more of a bait.
Mm.
And obviously, I'd use the zigger liners from Fox on the zigs. No one says anything about them being bright, but put it on a bottom bait and everyone's head had blown up.
Yeah.
I was like, why are your heads blowing up? It's just a red kicker. What about when Rob Malin and that was using Magga liners? But people like, that's a positive. Having something bright on your hook and drawing the eye of the fish. But the lines, that is the one thing that becomes harder and harder to conceal. And I think the fish are wariest of, because it goes out for such a long way in your swim. That's why things like the washing line method work so well, don't they? You know, when you're doing that across a lake and you've got 4 foot of line out instead of 100.
Well, I think tramming up as well, tramming your rods up. It's like
it just means it's like having one line.
One line out.
Yeah,
there,
it does.
It?
Yeah.
But yeah, it varies from, you know, but that's my thinking with that anyway. I would rather keep my lines in one area if I could, rather than
some places. I mean, you've got to look at where fish are coming in from, where they're going to reach you, and stagger your rods accordingly. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when you've got a spot and you can, you know, fish trammers out to them, then that's lovely as well. But it's horses for courses. It's having an open mind and adapting, and of course making the right decision in the right situation. That's the hardest part, which you get with fishing regularly, you know, and you're not on the back. Like Dovey said as well, he says, like, when you're not going to a lake regularly, every time you go, it's like you're on the back foot, because every decision you make's catch up. Where the people who are there regularly, they might not have the technical knowledge, but they don't have enough knowledge of that lake where the technical doesn't outweigh the...
It was the golf analogy, wasn't it? Dovey said, it's like if you're a golfer and you play on the same golf course every single week, you know, you know the shots to play, and you know, you're going to be more consistent on a golf course, you know, rather than keep turning up and playing on different courses.
Yeah,
you're more likely to have a lower handicap, aren't you, if you could just play on the same course?
Yeah, which is what we do. That's a lot of my fishing has been that.
Yeah.
There, and you never really feel like you are conquering somewhere, where the results, you know, the Essex Manor, Lakelands, the lakes where I've actually put some time in, had average results or not great results in session 1 or session 2, gone away, thought about it, gone back, applied it, smashed it. That's how it's got to be. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what. And even with trips, even trips more spaced out. I remember going to Gillam's for the first time on holiday and never caught a Siamese carp, and thought, how does that happen? These geezers come down, just lobbed out a PVA bag and caught one, and he's caught one over there, and that one's caught. How have I not? I'm supposed to know what I'm doing here, but I didn't know what I was doing, how to catch them. And there was a way to catch them. I went away, analysed how I fished, analysed the other captures, went back and never looked back, and caught loads every time, because I understood how they feed and how the fish works.
So what would you prefer then? Given, the satisfaction of being able to turn up on lakes you don't know and be successful is still pretty satisfying, isn't it? To be able to do that.
I think it depends. There's certain lakes where you can do that, but you could go to a well-stocked lake and turn it on its head very quickly, because you're on fish. Your quality, your bait and your rigs will really make you more effective than someone else who's got a blunt hook out and using a rubbish ready-made. You're going there with quality mainline bait, good particles, homemade. When we've done it in Croatia, we catch loads, but then you go to flip it on its head, you go to Wazin or something, and it's different. Then your line concealment's an element, fish direction, what they're doing, and microscopic decisions make big differences.
Yeah,
and that's the nature of carp fishing. So I think
it's still the same thing, though, isn't it? With when you've got a syndicate or a water where you've got the same people fishing on there all the time, and then someone new comes along and just doesn't take any notice because he doesn't know any different, and just does his own thing and starts catching straight away.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Well, I've got ideas of how we discussed it with the boys, and it's something I thought, like, methods that I think that I'll take back to, like, Wazin and apply, that I think will be successful. But it took a session, took 7 nights there. And then going back, thinking, I don't know why I've blanked. I can't work, like in that swim, I don't know why I've not caught in that swim. I can't work it out because there's fish there. I just didn't get them feeding on my spot, because if they came and fed on my spot, they're getting caught. That's it. They're getting caught. The hook baits are too good to resist. The rigs are too good. They're getting caught. The issues arise when you do not get them feeding confidently in your swim.
Were you feeding the same as the other guys?
In parts, yeah. But
you were doing different. You guys were doing something different each.
There's changes. I mean, it's right down to I was putting caster out as well.
Really?
Yeah. So it was the steward's inquiry from myself has gone in a week since I got back, so I've got a better feel for it.
You've been talking to Dovey on the phone?
No, I don't need to talk to anyone.
No.
Got all the data.
All the data.
Do my own data analysis. Go back with the right plan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll look out for Instagram, Toad, won't we? See some pictures.
We'll do. I'll just message you, Simon, as soon as it starts happening. If it does, I need to do it now. I've talked it up here, haven't I?
Got to deliver.
A few people are listening to this.
I better deliver.
Yeah. Reedsmere, because that was quite. You went from layer pits up to
Yeah, so I had done a little bit. I'd done some guesties on Harefield between then and
Harefield.
Yeah, I'd done a bit, but then when I went up to Reedsmere, it was quite a serious jump up. There was
But in terms of meeting new anglers and stuff, that changed your carp fishing life a little bit as well, didn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, it was a very fertile period. I've spoke about it loads to people that living in the Northwest. Frank Warwick, Gaz Fairham, Sean McSpadden, Scott Day, Bryder Minor, God rest his soul. Loads of people met in a period where Mark the Bull, there's huge characters on a really top anglers as well. And you get very good very quickly when you fish around people like that. So you get 10 years of knowledge in a year.
Yeah.
By being around top anglers.
Yeah, you do. And that lake in particular as well, because there weren't so many waters up there, that seemed to draw everybody in. That was
the circuit water. That was the top. That was your Save of the North.
Yeah.
And but easier to get a ticket on.
Yeah, was it a club ticket?
Yeah, it's Stoke-on-Trent. Yeah, ticket it was. Just went into a tackle shop and bought it. Frank Warwick sorted the... did I get it from there? Or no, I went to the house. Yeah, but anyway, it's easy enough to get. I bought my first set of waders, fire waders off Frank. And that's it. Yeah,
you needed waders on there, didn't you? By the looks
everybody,
of it.
yeah, all waders or wading in naked, one of the two. Yeah,
take your pick.
I did a mix of both. Yeah,
yeah.
That was where I learnt walking out baits and covering them. And then they banned wading, like past your waist, I think.
Did you catch a lot of fish out of there?
Did I catch a lot? I didn't do a lot. I've never done a lot of time anywhere. So I got better and better. So first season I only did 3 nights. And then the second year, I can't remember how many nights I did. It's in my book. Because I had it all written down. But I got better and better.
25 on it. Was it in the 20s? I think you're saying.
I don't know. I don't think
anyway, no, we won't quote on that now because...
Yeah, caught single scale and... what else? And then it was the year after that where I was really got to grips with it. And I was getting action every time I went, which is quite rare on there. Pretty much every trip I would have had. I had the one trip where I had the 8 takes and... just landed one. Could have been the greatest hit in the history of Reedsmere, but I got the nickname Blunt Hooks instead.
Yeah, that's not a great nickname, is it? So what did you learn fishing there then? And, how did you go from starting quite slowly on there to,
Well, what did I learn about it? No, I think a lot of it's timing on these places, being in the right place. I think I learned more about where the swims, the methods. I think more of it was just making sure you're in the right place at the right time of year. It wasn't a complicated matrix,
And going from fishing gravel pits to fishing silty meres.
Yeah. There's big ones as well, 40, 60, 70 acre lakes you were fishing up there. No, you just adapt naturally and organically to the situation, and you just think, well, I need to be there this time of year when the weather's like that. Piece it together.
So it's the same thing as what we were saying with
everything's the same. Routine and understanding,
being on the lake and seeing it.
Yeah, but then no one can take that away from you. Once you've built that knowledge, I could go back to any of the lakes I've fished in the past, and even when I walk around them, they are where I know they'll be during that time. Even during lockdown, I had permission to walk around Layer just to make sure it's getting bailiffed or whatever. No one was there. And I'd walk around, they'd be in all the same places, I think, in the same conditions,
Yeah.
They'd be in the car park bay in the morning if you're going, and in the evening they'd be in the flow park bay in the car park bay, and there'd be a few in the bottleneck under this tree, and they'll be showing mainly in the middle at that time on an easterly.
Yeah, you like that confirmation, don't you? That if I wanted to... If I wanted to, I could catch
come back.
I could. Oh my God!
You don't want to see me come back. Oh, yeah, bad. Nah, but yeah, you want to build that that period of building that knowledge on a venue and coming to terms with it can happen really quickly. Like on Lakelands, it happened very quickly, but it was a small lake. I went there quite regularly in a consecutive period, hatched the plan, executed it, walked away a winner.
Did you take that onto Essex Manor a little bit?
Different, the Essex Manor, but adapted it differently. Had to, I pieced bits of it together. Again, didn't fish it a lot year one. Can't remember how many nights I did, but I caught. But I was catching in the session, and I don't want to nick bites. I want to haul. I want to smash the living granny out of somewhere. So I don't want to just go there and nick a couple, which happens when you're flitting. You nick at 1 or 2 bites. Sometimes a rod produces more than others, but deep down, do you know why it was really successful? I want to go there and know if I do this well, I'm getting a result. I don't know what doing what well is, but every lake has a slightly different formula.
Yeah.
So like when we go to Gigantica, years of going there, we all know in our hearts what we need to do. I know what swim I want to be in at that time of year. I know where I need to fish. And no matter how much it changes a bit over the years, it don't really change that much.
Doesn't it?
I don't think.
Gigantica, the only time I fished Gigantica was in 2011, and I moved into the Coast Point straight after you.
Oh, did you?
I did.
How'd you get on?
Yeah, I caught a few.
Yeah.
I think you caught more.
You might come in after the week me and Dan smashed it. I proper give him some bait though, didn't I? Midweek on that trip.
You did give him some bait.
But that was one of stick or twist. I was like, we're both fishing a bit of bait, but not loads. And I thought, I'm going to give them. But actually, when I weighed the buckets and worked out, it's about 30 kilo I'd give them on a Wednesday night.
And what happened? It went dead, didn't it?
No, I had a bite. The earliest I'd had a bite, the next morning, on a non-match the hatch, bang in the middle of the spot. And then it went quiet. And then I had a pretty much triple take on the Saturday with my rods on the floor.
Yes, yeah.
So they'd proper churned it up then. But I think if I had the goo back then and a really high attract hook bait on them spots, I would have caught.
You
more.
had 30, you reckon you put 30 kilos out?
Reckon I put 30 kilos out.
Wow. Because you could use the boats then as well, couldn't you? Yeah.
Three buckets. Or was it 2 buckets of boilies, or 1 big bucket of boilie and 1
So do you think it was just coming backwards and forwards off that
took
spot?
ages to clean it. My hook baits weren't good enough.
Just goes to show on a lake like that as well, because they did get that.
I think if I had like I say, gooed up zingers over the top, the bait would have been the feature, and that they would have been coming in and getting nailed. But I didn't. I was using match the hatch on one, a cell with a bit of fake corn on the other, and I think I had a high attract in the middle, but they weren't that high attract because they're not. As you can't beat having that soluble food source getting sucked into it.
What time were you getting your bites actually on that?
All day action we were getting.
In the day. That's
all
when
day.
I got the bites.
Yeah.
Afternoons.
All day, all through the day, morning till.
But nothing in the middle of the night.
Morning till early dinner. Then we'd go out and put the bait out, then come back after dinner and cast, and then nothing. And I literally could go to sleep and wake up to a bite. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's
brilliant
perfect,
session.
isn't it?
Dan fished brilliantly that trip, and then I think we went back the year after in exactly.
You were filming, weren't you? You were.
Yeah, we were
you
doing
caught fudges.
He had fudgies, cluster, and droptail, all in that trip. Yeah, that was it.
Pretty hard following after that, really, isn't it?
What?
Following after that, yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, he was on Alcatraz, and I was on Coast. But then we went the year after, fished the same formation. It was slightly different lake then. The weed had got up, and the fish were holding up more in front of Alamo and stuff, rather than being like a lake with no weed, which meant those middle swims really are dominant, for in my opinion.
Well, we might be going back in a few months' time.
You might be, yeah.
Be interesting. Well, as long as we're allowed back into France.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it'd be nice to go back there. The other thing with Gigantica, you've caught some big fish out of there, haven't you? Because all of you guys now, I mean, Neil's had his Cassian fish, but you've had some really good ones out of Gigantica, haven't you, on film?
Yeah, it's been good to me, Gigantica, with average size of fish. Yeah, I've had, obviously, the German, doing Monster Carp, and the Giggler in the same trip, consecutive days. Then I've had, obviously, single scale, which is now dead. German's dead now, isn't it, as well? So, yeah, I hope there's no pattern here. Well, maybe. They die a few years after. They do get caught.
They're still in shock.
Yeah. Single scale at £70. That was a shock. Hard week.
So how many 70 pluses have you had?
2.
2 out of there, yeah.
2 total, yeah.
2, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, 160. And I can't remember, a few 50s I've had out of there, I think. 1, 2...
I was talking to Spooner about that place because every
4 or 5 50s.
Every fish that I hooked in there, didn't catch that many. I caught 6 when I went there.
Yeah.
And they all felt heavy. All of them. In that
deep water and being side on, deep-bodied fish, you're pulling them back, they're swimming like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of water mass.
But when you hooked the German on the first Monster Carp, wasn't it? You said straight away, this is a big carp, didn't you? You knew straight away on that one.
Yeah, you get used to it there.
Do you?
Yeah, I've because it was the same swim I caught single scale from, and it went almost in the same similar direction. Single scale was in the night, and it got snagged, and my line was going through. I thought it was snagged, then I thought it felt it flick off something, then I still thought it was snagged, and then it started moving. It was a weird fight. Weird, but because it was so big.
But you could see the look on your face, couldn't you? It's like that sort of terror that you've got something.
I think we're all quite. You're sort of composed. I mean, don't forget when I'm playing that fish, I've got a new cameraman there that time, Jack Booth. I'm directing him between playing a carp, so I'm going right. Go to the reel, film the reel. Right, bit of rod tip. At the same time, gal, get the boat. I think it's going to get snagged or it's going through wheat. And you're I can't just stand there and play the fish like a normal angler. I'm thinking director, TV show, play the fish. Is it going in weed? Barbless hooks as well, don't forget. So it was a ballsy decision going in a boat, because in that In Pursuit of the Monster DVD that we did on Masterclass, the first one, where we went to Gigantica, I go out in the boat, one snags me on a shod rig, and as we get above it, it just starts coming, it pops out. So I've got that in the back of my head as well. The only other time I've ever been out in a boat on Gigantica, the fish come off.
You're convinced that was a big fish?
That was a big one.
Was it?
Same. Stayed low, swam into the shelf, so my line's going like that and round and in. And I thought, all I've got to do is get past that weed and pump it out. And yeah, just wasn't meant to be. But that was a big one.
That's one that stays in your mind forever.
Yeah, I think I'd had a 50 that morning already, or whatever. Was it two? I can't remember. I had a double take, and then that was the third take of the day, and it come off. Yeah, but you don't want to lose. But anyway, and also there, I always know when the bubbles come up as well. See it with the Siamese, the big ones, they blow bubbles as they're getting near the net, and I see that with big carp a lot. You get these blowing bubbles come up during the fight as they get near the net. Don't really see it with smaller ones, and I just said it, and then see it pop up to the surface. I was like, oh, that is a beast. When they look big in the water, you know they're big.
Oh yeah. No, I see. I think I want one of those. I want one of those really, really big.
Yeah, when you see that, you think that's a daddy, that one.
Yeah. Would you say that fishing on the Manor was, for English fishing, was that the sort of pinnacle of your English fishing?
No.
No.
I don't think there are. I don't really have pinnacles. It's just I hope pinnacles are to come. I don't really think of it like that.
Well, the pinnacle could get steeper and steeper.
Defined by who?
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Not defined by me.
It wasn't the pinnacle anyway.
No,
it was
not
just
at all. It's a lake. Lake that I wanted to fish and catch the carp from. That's all they are, mate. They're lakes, aren't they?
Well,
you've got targets in them. Pinnacles,
but they mean a lot to you, though, don't they? When you fish the water like that,
it's just convenience, though. But it's like it was near work, and you could go there and hatch a plan and do it. Sometimes fishing's dictated by your geography. So, was it the pinnacle of the available waters to me at the time? Is it the pinnacle of challenges I faced in my fishing? There's all questions, but the answers are the great unknown, Simon. There's plenty of pinnacles to come.
Let's have a look at some of those Manor ones anyway, Tobe.
Let me see what I've got.
Oh, he's got the, I think you got the Bream and the Stella back to back. That was a good capture. That wasn't a very planned trip.
They were multiple captures, weren't they? Those.
Yeah. To be honest, there's an interesting thing from this. About small waters and line. Yeah. All my biggest hits on there, 5 fish, 6 fish nights and stuff, were all in single nights. The most I ever caught when I did 2 nights was 2. When I did 2 nights in a swim, was 2 carp. When I did single night, that's when I always had me most. By then they know you're there.
They're gone. They're gone.
You're not. It's not that they're scared of coming into your area. They're feeding. They're not feeding well enough. They're agitated. They're on edge. They know there's danger in the area. They just might as well not bother.
It's a crowded lake as well, isn't it?
It's like crowded. But that method of going down there when it was quiet, so it wasn't ungentlemanly, when there was no one on or one on, you could go and get a bit of baiting on a few spots, go back 2 days later. Killed it doing that.
Right, yeah. Similar to what you were doing on Lakelands in that respect.
Lakelands was different. It was a really busy lake.
Put that back up, Tobe, actually. Sorry.
You got Stella right. Yeah, it was a really busy lake, so you couldn't pre-bait Lakelands. So my way of pre-baiting was to be in the swim for 3 days and fish it at night and bait up during the day.
Yeah.
Works.
It works. It does work.
It works. So that was that one was a nice session. Turned up. Went in a swim called the Garden, got up the tree, there was smoke in the margin up, getting my rods together, and then they start crashing on the other side. I'm like, oh no, what do I do here? Well, there's smoky water here, I can't see any carp. They're smashing out the other side, right. Got the barrow, a couple of rods on there, shot round to the other side, directly opposite almost the swims. Went over, cast a couple of light leads right to the middle of the lake, then wound them back, and then lowered them 4 yards out. On horrible drops, like I was like, I can't do anything, and then just I got like six Mark 1 mainline actually. bait that's not out. Just cut them with my teeth into halves and just flicked them out with my fingers in a little trail. Had these 2 little pop-ups on the spot. Laid on my side, 10 minutes on the bank. Didn't even fight, mate. Got a bite, 5 yards out, wound it straight in, put it in the net.
Nice fish.
I was like, oh, it's the bream common.
Bream common.
That was that.
Did you find that a lot on there? Because so the other end of the lake where you were, they were clouding out. They were obviously
opposite,
fish there.
directly up. So we were on the long banks. So I was in a swim called the Garden, which is 3/4 of the way down to one end of it, and the middle pads is in the middle of the lake, but nearer to that end. Yeah.
But their behaviour was different. So you could see in the Garden,
jumping, the other was clouding. But I thought you've got to go with them. They're jumping in a weird place and fizzing up.
Yeah.
So I went over there. I thought, what's the worst that can happen? You've got that swim. There's no one here. You can go there. If it don't work, come back to here. And that's what I did. I caught. Then that went completely dead in there because I was like, well, where do I fish for the night? Then went back to the Garden, put the rods in places. I put one on a new spot where I've seen very few people fish. And for some reason, I put 5-ounce square pair tied on there on a heli.
Oh, I like that.
And I just remember just slushing it around in the mud clay, and just all in there. And then one just went boom. I was like, that'll do. Held the line tight so I could see where it went in the water, and just stoved in a load of maggot, 10 millers, all sorts on that rod. Walked it down, put it on the rest. Woke up the next morning, nothing. Remember walking up the other end for a look, seeing fish there. Then the wind just turned. And by now it was like 8 in the morning. Still no fish there. I thought, oh, you've made a balls up here. Where did all these go that were smoking up? And then went up the tree again, and I saw the ghosty Lynn. And that's always with the big girls. Saw that ghost past. Thought, all right, that's good. They're coming down. Went back down, sat down. A few minutes later, single bleep, one toner, Stella.
Stella.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Wow.
That's
a lovely car. I like that.
I stood pretty much where I caught
Stella's
it.
Really?
It was probably a little bit further. Obviously, yeah. It was probably about 4 foot of water where I caught it. But that was it. Yeah, it come in that.
You caught that a few times, Al, didn't you?
Not Stella, no. Only caught that
one.
Oh,
the anchor,
The
sorry.
anchor I caught, which is actually the last UK 40 I caught. It shows how little fishing I've done.
Right.
But I always say to people when they talk to me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, how can I beat my PB? How can I catch a foot? I'm like, we just got to fish lakes with them in, mate. They're only carp. And if you go to lakes with big carp in them, you catch big carp.
Did you? We've had Dovey on talking about the manner and finding hard drops. Was that really the key on there? Just finding really, really good drops?
Yeah, not where I baited. So I was one of the things Pecky said that rare for Pecky to learn something from me rather than the other way around. But one of the things he said he learnt from me is how I baited up there, because we fished there at the same time, and he was very much about baiting small tight areas, and I was going in there and feeding a tennis court. But I would still be very precise within the tennis court where I put my hook bait. And even some of those big hits, they were on the very first big hit where I had I had a UK PB at the time, beat it 3 times in the same session, the PB. That was all on one rod, left down the reeds, and there must have been, I'm only imagining it must have been a little bored out, proper harder drop. You could look like you landed on the same 6 inches, but one of them goes down, leaving that, and that was the rod. But I had another rod where I caught the bream a couple of years after, just in front of the swim on a bit of chod. Never got one touch.
Yeah.
So they were obviously coming from a certain way, and even though I had another rod in the swim, it was just that one rod that did the bites. But then I have had other trips when all 3 rods were going. So
yeah,
it depends on the angles and where you can get them approaching.
It does. It sounds like when you're on there and you're fishing down those shelves, because you're fishing quite a steep shelf there as well.
You're fishing. They're like steps,
rigs,
aren't they? Yeah, you want to. Yeah. I always used fluorocarbon there. Really slack lines, totally drooping off the ends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Still, the fish it's doing now are still. I mean, it's prolific water nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Rob Burgess is on there, the old coach, and
right.
he had I think he caught one Gracie's, which is a done £50, but he had it on a zig last week at 41 on an adjustable, I think, on his first trip. So I think you get lakes with incredible water quality that continue year after year to churn out big fish. That is one of them. You know, clay dug. Mega.
Yeah. So getting on to like Korda stuff, Al.
Yeah.
So what was it, like 2005 when you started here?
It was, mate. Yeah. March 2005, March the 5th. So I've been here just over 15 years now.
What were Korda looking for when they were advertising for your role at the time?
A marketing manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted a normal...
Did they get more than they bargained for?
Yeah. Yeah. Positive and negative, probably. I'm sure they'll say more negative, but yeah, it was. I think they didn't have. It wasn't like they had loads of people with my background and experience to choose from. They would have been picking from within the trade, and they would have had, I would say, mediocre options. I was the only one that actually brought proper elements that could take things forward, you know, and a passion.
You've been writing and stuff quite a lot.
Yeah, I'd been writing before it. Yeah. Done the writing, and I was already, you know, sponsored partially by Korda as well. I had a huge respect for what they were already doing, and
so what could you see that you could add? Because they'd already done the underwater.
I think it was the TV side I thought I could bring to the table, and I saw how enthusiastic and positive Dan was about communicating with an audience. He really liked to give information. Even before I come, I could see that, and I just felt like even if my character was too boisterous or whatever for him at times, I felt they had a real passion for the ideas, and that's why it's been a very successful 15 years, because we mirror each other's desire, you know, and Dan wants to keep pushing on and communicating with people. Damo gives great support with that behind the scenes in ensuring that the rest of the ship is running smoothly. But Dan, and it's bled into Spooner and Dovey and all of them, they all get it. That's why it's worked so well. There's a real passion for talking to people and helping. Yeah. And irrespective of me being there, it comes from Dan's passion to help that's really meant my ideas that I had that might have been personal to me were able to see the light of day. There's been loads of things we've done together as a collective. There have been other things that Dan's done off his own back, but the ethos is the same. Were
you able to impose yourself quite quickly on the company?
In what sense, mate?
Would you have the respect of everybody, the backing of everybody, to just go straight in and be able to do your own thing straight away?
Do you mean presenting, or do you mean ideas?
With everything, really, because
it was quick. It was quick. It took about, I suppose, not talking about being in front of the camera, behind the camera, with regards to getting thinking tackle off the ground very quickly. Dan was all for it, and we did that. Yeah, we did that in the first year we were filming. So by the end of year one, we were recording, and by 2006 we were on air on Sky. You know, with a show. So that happened.
Did you come into Korda suggesting Sky to them?
Yes.
Was the Sky
so
stuff
my
was
background,
on the table?
I'd been there as a kid on work experience, and then worked part time while I was still at uni. So yeah, I had great contacts there, and it was a door we could open instantly.
And those contacts, you made those while you were at work experience?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even while you were there, I need to connect with as many people here as I
organically happens.
Just make
because
friends
that's
with
my
people.
personality, to talk to people and make friends. Not that I'm thinking, oh, this person could be useful for me. I didn't think that.
Were you staying in touch with these people?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Got to do it, didn't you?
Yeah. Did you say to him one day, we're going to have this great fishing show?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I walked into the head of Sky Sports' office at the time and showed him a load of fishing videos. Thought I was mad without an appointment. You know, most people have appointments, don't they? I just knocked on his door, walked in, sat in his chair, started putting videos in his cassette player.
Was he a carp angler?
No.
He must have hated it.
No.
What's this?
It's like, this geezer's fucking mental. He's just thought, look at him, so much front. And I had front. I still got front, but your front starts to get diminished a bit as you get older, because you become more aware of what you're doing. back then it was from the hip, with passion, only good intentions, never bad, but it got results. But I think it's tolerated more when you're younger. As you get older, you probably can't be as gun-ho. Can just turn up at Netflix and walk into their office without an appointment.
How different is it working with ITV now then? And was it the same kind of approach? How did you approach ITV and suggest a Monster Carp big fish off?
Well, fish off was first, wasn't it? Monster Carp was in the table of stuff when we first went there. But yeah, it needed a fishing celebrity style spin to get us in there, and it was Nick Warner, our director, that I met whilst we did the underwater film, that then started doing thinking tackles with us, that was able to get us those early meetings at ITV, because he was doing Dancing on Ice, Come Dine With Me. He was in that world. But it was great. We went there and they agreed to let us shoot one big fish off just to see what it's like, and didn't really look back. And then once they gained their confidence with the success of that show, it meant I could go back to them with the Monster Carp concept. And again, they let us shoot a pilot almost, which we did at Balaton with Spooner and Dovey, and they loved it. And
do we need to go in there with do Korda finance this?
Yeah, so Korda financed the initial production, and then now we get some money back from ITV and some money back from international distribution.
Because it's been established and...
Yeah, but at the very beginning, it is all down to Dan's courage and support and believing that these things will make a difference to the overall fishing industry. This wasn't about Korda winning. Of course, we're first that they see when they do these types of things, but it was about fishing and pushing it, and I'm really passionate about that now. I want to do more and more stuff, like talk of doing something with Ant Middleton together, which I want to do for my own ego. I want to do that show because it's just the opportunity to do something. And yeah, the fishing's not going to benefit Korda's end tackle, but it's great for fishing. To just keep raising the spotlight of it, and they're then the next big goals for me, really.
Well, you've likened it to Bear Grylls a little bit. You've got this guy that's essentially going out camping and living outdoor stuff, adventurous stuff, but in some respects fishing could be more interesting, couldn't it, than that. But Bear Grylls has been very good at being able to draw high profile people onto his show and make it into something possibly more interesting than it necessarily would be otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. There's a lot of stigma still in TV production about fishing, so they don't see fishing as very exciting. And one of the major ambitions of us at Korda and myself personally is to change that and to grow. And the Big Fish Off has really done that. And Monster Carp has done that as well. The amount of people that are non-anglers that comment that they watch the show is frightening. It grows year on year, and it surprises me, that people just watch it that don't even fish. And that's and the people that do fish love it as well. So that's what we're...
What was the inspiration behind that then? I mean, with Big Fish Off, did you always want to do a show it had to involve celebrities or...
No, as I said earlier, when you asked, that was our way of getting a fishing show onto ITV, because it's all about ratings, and having the celebrities in there gave them a bit of an insurance that we would... the show's more likely to be successful because it's got celebrities in it. A show with non-known anglers, all about one species, which is what Monster Carp is, blew their mind up. But by the time Big Fish Off had been a success, that didn't feel as big a risk to them then. So when it came out, did well. It's now their biggest factual entertainment show on ITV4, which is their men's channel, if you like. It's brilliant. And the next objective now is kicking on to some other platforms that can reach a bigger audience.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of focus is going there and conversations. But the good thing is we've got a legacy now.
Having to change the shows very much, or pretty much sticking to what you've already got?
Don't know. Yeah, I think the show's always got to change, mate. Otherwise, people get bored. I had a debate with one of our cameramen, Daniel Javadnia. We were talking about historic shows like Friends. There was only ever 9 seasons of Friends, and everyone gets bored of saying they don't think they will. It's the same as why everyone's like, why don't you do 8 episodes of Monster Carp? Couldn't physically do it anyway, time-wise. But it's nice to leave people wanting more. I want the series to end and then be angry that it's over. It's good. Rather than thinking, oh God, it's another one of them this week.
But Monster Carp's a good balance, isn't it? Because it's still quite serious fishing, but you've managed to you've got that sort of Top Gear kind of compromise there as well, haven't you? So you've still managed to keep it quite credible to anglers, but interesting to people that don't necessarily fish. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to balance the books with everyone. The Big Fish Off was hard to balance the books because it's shouty, laughy, and we had so much abuse of some. I mean, Des Taylor giving us grief and people going, oh, this is everything fishing's not. I was like, oh my God, come on, don't go for a pint with you, you know? Like what? Because we're celebrating captures. But interestingly, even people close to me, like my mum and dad, prefer Monster Carp to Big Fish Off. Maybe because I lose a lot in Big Fish Off. But yeah, they just love I think they see what it means to you more, Monster Carp, because I enjoy filming Monster Carp more. I hated filming the Big Fish Off. It's too stressful, too many elements for me to worry about. Monster Carp, I really, really get into the trip, and it's over a period of time, and you get time with the lads, and there's an atmosphere and a vibe, and it's beautiful. Yeah,
it is. It's just finding waters, though, Al, isn't it? Is that going to be a problem, or
nah? It's a bigger problem.
How much more life is that series got? Do you think?
Don't know.
Yeah, really.
We'll know when we know. We'll know inside. Like a boxer, I'll never wait until I'm punch drunk to retire from it. Yeah. And then we'll shift the concept.
But you got plans for next year with that as well?
Yeah. We've already got plans for season 6. Season 5 is in the edit. Out. It'll be delayed now. I'm looking to release it in August rather than July.
That's not too much of a delay then, is it, considering?
No, it's not a big delay, but it's about what you clash with as well when you come on the telly box, you know. When's the football coming back? You don't want to be up against the Premiership starting again. There's lots of variables when you come to scheduling a show. But yeah, that's part of the art of getting the timing right.
Yeah. Well, at least it's going out. And whose decision was it to do the best of series over the last month or so?
That was just something during lockdown. I thought people would enjoy.
You go to ITV and suggest that.
So I would. What would normally happen is I come up with a night. Same as when we had the repeats for 25 weeks last year. I asked them if there is a way we can have a consecutive run, and they said, yeah, early morning. There's this slot. And it meant we could because so many people hadn't watched the older ones and kept asking, we can't put it on YouTube. So this is like my way of getting it to the people, giving them a chance to watch the old shows. And then they still say to you, when's it on? So, well, it's been on the same time every day, but every week, the same day each time, you know, like, but yeah, the one over lockdown, a lot of people wanting, I thought, well, we'll see what sort of slot we can get, and that they were very kind, John at ITV, to sort of, you know, an 8 o'clocker out, consecutive days, you know, prime time, and yeah, we were able to do we called it a fishing stunt.
It worked.
Yeah,
I think, what are the viewing figures like?
Yeah, brilliant actually. Done really well considering they've been on a lot of times, and they, like you'd expect, because I won't bore people. It's hard to explain how viewing figures work. What you and I watch doesn't make a difference. It's whether you've got a barb box that registers the viewing of the nation. So that imagine there's like 10,000 households, and what they watch represents what you and I watch. So it's a bit skewed for specifics. It's skewed, I think.
That's another thing with you is you're doing a lot of UNICEF stuff, aren't you? Huh?
Not a lot. Did obviously sort of wanted to get involved with Soccer Aid last year.
Is that just to get on that football pitch and play?
Well, no, because I was involved with that before I got involved with Soccer Aid, with UNICEF after. Now, Soccer Aid, I was desperate to do, because obviously from a football element, just the opportunity to do it would be amazing. But UNICEF's obviously a case close to my heart. Everything that's going on in Syria and around the world, and having come from that sort of background, I want to be able to help UNICEF. And after Soccer Aid, I did go to see them to meet and plan how I can do some stuff from the fishing world to support them. But there was potential of a celebrity pro-am fishing match happening this year, but again, that's the end of that with COVID. We were going to be doing it in September, so that will be. Do
they take that serious? I mean, do they take the whole fishing thing seriously?
They take anything seriously that donates good amount of money.
Right. So we might see you one day playing it.
Probably not. Getting a bit old now, and I think I don't think I would have got in this year in the end.
Would you feel nervous about that? Going out on that pitch?
No, not at all. I trained with them last year. It's fine.
Well, I mean, but it's a big crowd, isn't it?
Yeah. It's at Old Trafford this year as well. It was going to be. Yeah, it's like 75,000 people.
Yeah, you wouldn't feel a little bit nervous?
Nah. Lap it up, mate.
I knew he'd say that, didn't you, Tony?
I was going to say, how do you reckon you get on, Ty?
Yeah, I'd be nervous. I don't play football.
You've got to make sure you have a couple of nice early touches. Get good control of the football.
Beforehand.
Good control of the football. Don't do anything stupid. But it's one of those things. I think they had really high ambitions for some really top level celebrities. I just wanted to be considered as a wild card. If they had a couple in there that were a bit unknown to the mainstream viewer, that they'd give us a shout, because I think the fishing audience would have got behind it so much, because they would have had one of their own in such a big, high profile, charitable football match.
That would have been great.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But you train with Usain Bolt and stuff as well.
Yeah, train with Usain. We were on the same team. Does
he feel that quick when you're on the pitch?
He's on my team, so I never had to chase him. Played a couple of long balls.
You wouldn't want to chase him, though.
Played a couple of bad balls that he made look like good balls. It was proper amazing. It was literally not almost a year now since I went there. I remember getting the call up, thinking, I'm gonna play, but then they said, oh no, we want you to be in the appreciation station, taking calls. I was like, but they said you can come to training, you can come and train with them. I thought, and I said, what if someone gets injured? They said, well, then you'd get in. But then no one's getting in. Even the ones who are injured are never going to say they're injured. So it was one of those things. But you never know, mate. Never know.
Yeah.
Something I'm desperate to do, but alas, I just think they don't realise the size of the fishing industry, and that's that. The scenario with Soccer Aid is almost a mirror image of what I face every time I go into talking to Netflix and people like that. It's the same battle, and it's a long battle, and you've got to keep chipping away and be tenacious to win it.
Yeah. Well, you keep chipping away.
I will do.
Ali, it's been a good podcast.
Thanks, Simon. I've enjoyed meeting. We'll do it again.
We will. I mean, there is. We say this to so many of our guests, but there is so much to talk about, isn't there? And you can just go on and on and on.
Could, yeah, but people will be nodding off very soon if I keep talking.
They won't. Of course, they won't. They
Thanks,
love you,
Toby.
Ali.
That's all right, mate. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Did you learn anything there, Tobe?
Yeah, mate. I've known Ali for years, and I learned stuff in that, so I really enjoyed it, mate.
Yeah, good. No, me too, Al.
Thanks for having me, lads.
We'll
Enjoy
do it again
the hoodie.
sometime. Okay.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.